Welcome to episode 80 of The Route, presented by Jobs in Sports. The Route is a glorified sports business coffee chat that has a new guest every episode as they share their experiences and route in sports. I'm Christopher Nascimento, and let's get started. So, as always, there's always just two things to cover quickly before we get into the episode. First off, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast. You can see right here if you're watching the video. So we have video podcasts on YouTube. That's via the White Whale Marketing YouTube channel. We have a playlist, just the route, so you can go through all the previous episodes. I think we've done about 10 to 15 episodes or maybe more on video now. They're doing well, and I think it just provides another element. So subscribe there if you want to do video. But most of our listeners are on platforms like Apple, Spotify, Google, and Anchor, and there's 10 others, I believe. I can't name off the top of my head, but subscribe and follow there. And if you can, rate 5 stars, as it just helps the podcast grow. So just take a minute to do that. And it's about the little graphic today if you're watching on video where this just kind of popped up. We're just going to kind of do things a little differently today and kind of refer to this a bit. So, and then the other thing, as always, I'd like to just refer to before we kind of begin is right here on the video. You see at The Route Sports. That is the social media handle for all of our platforms. The biggest one that I think people listening, so professionals in sports, or even these young professionals or students that are the ones listening, check us out on LinkedIn. It's a great way to maybe grow your network if you want to start getting to sports. Maybe, add me, add those who are on the podcast, and you can refer to things like, hey, like I saw you on the podcast, would love to have a chat. And it's a great way to start building your network. So check us out there at The Route Sports on everything: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, X, Y, Z. You know the drill. So with that, we can now get into today's episode. If you've listened to all of our episodes, you would know, episode 80, that's, that goes by 20. That means today's episode, if you've seen the title already, I'm the guest. So that's why we have this little format on the video. We're doing a little share screen here. Every 20 episodes, I typically like to do a keepsake, I guess you can call it, where episode 0, so the first one we've ever had, was about me just kind of saying, hey, what the podcast is, what I'm currently doing. And I decided from then on and going forward, I wanted to use the podcast as something where, I ask questions at the end of the podcast. If you listen to some, hey, when you're 103, what's a story that sticks out to you? And I like to use this podcast to maybe remember when I'm 103 one day, where, when I was in my 20s, what I was doing, right? So episode 0, 20, 40, 60, and now 80 are always going to be about me. And you're essentially just kind of following along with my route as I go, right? So if you're a student, a young professional, maybe you can kind of connect with what I'm doing, or maybe even reach out and say, hey, I'm doing this, or maybe check this out. So typically we kind of get the grand scheme routes where we have, directors, executives, etc. And they kind of say, hey, I went to school here and finished here. But mine's really, you're going step by step with me. Where episode 0, I was a recent graduate, right? I finished a semester early, so you can kind of think of, if you wanted to refer to the episodes, you can go check them out if you want more depth. Episode 20 was actually my graduation date. So the day unfortunately with COVID, we weren't walking across the stage. It was just some dumb video thing that I think wasn't worth it. But I ended up skipping that and having my first day at Atlético Ottawa. So if you didn't know, I went to Atlético Ottawa to do almost basically a marketing internship. And I'm comfortable saying that now, where I basically told them, like, hey, I'll work for free, because I had experience with a startup. I wanted experience with the team. And because of COVID, everything was shut down. No one had money. No companies were hiring. So I'm like, hey, this is a great time to kind of maybe get a step forward on everyone. When everyone's waiting at home, I'll bet on myself. I'm like, hey, I'll help you guys for free. And I was kind of an intern for 2 days. Then I was basically, running social media, communications, PR stuff, and even doing marketing efforts. So quickly went from intern to basically manager of those things. And it was unreal. Loved it. Was going to practice, and it was pretty cool to, be properly working in sports with a club, because that's what you always think of, right? And as amazing as it was and as fun as it was, I kind of realized, hey, I don't think at the moment that's what I want to do, just in regards to, my age and the possibilities that was there. I think I could have done, I want to see what else was there, right? So it was cool being at the field, doing these different things that were very related to sports, and you're always talking about sport. But by being close to the athletes, and then with this podcast, and we were doing streams back then when White Whale Marketing, which is my company, it was beforehand a personal brand called Nascimento Marketing. So mine, that's a great thing to try out if you're a student or young professional and you want to attach your name to sports marketing, sports business, whatever. Create a blog, website, podcast, stream, whatever. Just connect your name to sports. That's some great advice I got when I was a student. And so I was meeting different athletes, and I kind of noticed there was a hole, right, where, hey, these athletes, they're unreal people. They have so much potential. I find they weren't executing and maximizing their potential, right? So that's what you can see here on our company Instagram. That's kind of the motto I like to go by: maximizing your potential. So I decided basically almost a year ago today to, hey guys, I appreciate it, but I want to try out having my own company, helping athletes with their marketing. So that's what I do now with our sports marketing company, White Whale Marketing, where I work with athletes and we try to grow their brand. So as you can see here on the Instagram, if you're watching via video, we have some guys in soccer. This is one of the guys that helped us out. He's marketing at SFX with CFL players, and something we'll touch on later in regards to what's next. But so that's kind of the route I decided to go. And I think there's a great opportunity to maybe go with Atlético, but I think at this point in time, I was like, no, I want to try something on my own. So that was almost a year ago to the day, right? And then episode 40, which is another recap one of mine, was actually the day we launched White Whale Marketing. So that was December 1st, so about 10 months ago at the time of this recording. And, I kind of launched, I had these different expectations of, okay, cool. Like, I see the value, athletes see the value. This is easy. Boom, boom, boom. We'll get it and go from there. A little harder than expected. And I think most things that are worth it are harder than expected, especially with the pandemic. It didn't help, but definitely interesting, right? So been living and learning. It's been pretty cool, pretty hard, pretty easy. It's a little bit of everything. And then when episode 60 came out, that was maybe April, May of 2021. And that was cool because we finally had athletes signing, right? I think we're about to close on our fourth athlete, or we just announced our third and fourth, or we're just about to. I had students reaching out that were going to help. So we have, as you see here on the video, we have AJ, shout out Haral. Haral, he's a guy that also helps us out. And, we had other students at the time that were going to be helping, or, young professionals, but not all of them worked out. It was more AJ and Haral. They're kind of the big ones then that kind of stuck. And it was cool, right? Like, I saw the business growing. There's, people believing in it. But as we kind of go along here, as I thought, hey, we get an athlete, boom, 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 we'll sign them to a sponsorship. It's a little harder than that. And I think that's where our value proposition is, right? Where I'll get into it a bit later, but it's not just, hey, let's go chase the bag and, move on with the athlete, right? That's funny enough, this little picture here with Tyler, the kicker for the Blue Bombers, carrying a bag. So our big thing, I don't want athletes to just chase the bag. I want to help them build a brand and actually build a partnership, right? So there's actually value exchange and something authentic. So that's what episode 60 was. So I guess episode 80 now, as I different said, episode 0, basically just graduated university. Episode 20 was my graduation day. Episode 40 was the launch of the business. Episode 60 was basically we were signing athletes for the first time. We're having, growing our team. And then now, funny enough, episode 80, this is why there's a little delay in the recording. It's actually my 24th birthday. So I typically don't like sharing my age in regards to sports stuff, because then, sometimes I feel like people kind of judge, like, oh, you're 24, you're too young, or X, Y, Z, whatever. But as I've kind of realized more recently, I'm like, hey, you know what? That's what it is, and I think it's an advantage for sure at the same time. So I like to have almost. It's funny how these 20th episodes always land on interesting dates, and that's why I delayed the recording by one day, so it comes out on the actual birthday, right? So episode 80, let's kind of get into it. I have a couple notes here where I can kind of read off of and kind of just have something a little more structured, like the typical podcast. Yeah, so with that, if you're watching the video, I'll just kind of use this little screen here, and you kind of see some things I'm talking about, so you have some visuals as well, so it's not just always me. So when episode 60 came out, we were working on some different things, right? And the biggest thing was NFTs, right? We had one of our athletes kind of refer to us. He's like, hey, can you do an NFT? Can we do it? Yeah, sure. Did we know how? No, not really. And yeah, that's where that's what I love about white whale marketing, right? Where I think we're super agile. You ask us to do something, or even it's these podcast streaming, I try to do all these different things that I would recommend an athlete do, because then I like to say proof's in the pudding, right? So I can't tell you, hey, there'll be value in you doing this, but then I don't do it myself, right? So it also allows us to know, hey, how to do it, and hey, what can you do to maybe leverage it this way, or hey, maybe try this out because we seen success this way. So NFTs was a cool project, especially with the hype that was around them at the time and still is, right? So we kind of did our research, figured out in a week's time, we launched NFTs. Apparently, we can't say that Nico was the first, but he was in the league that he is, first player. So we actually designed, if you're watching on video, this is the NFT. We paid an artist to do this. Shout out Darius, if I'm not mistaken, his name is, based in Montreal. And if you're listening via audio, it's essentially these NFTs that we created are digital trading cards almost of cartoon sketches of the athletes, and even myself, I made one where the one Nico that I'm kind of showing you guys now here via video. It's Nico holding a ball. He's a goalkeeper in soccer for a Canadian league that we actually got called for different things, saying, hey, you can't, do this, but we are allowed. So we actually kind of pushed it where instead of having a goalkeeper jersey, we made him his own merch. So it's a black long sleeve with this, simple smiley face, because that's a tattoo that he has on his finger. So that's something we keep referring to Nico. And it's pretty cool, right? Where we learn quickly. We released blogs. We had these NFTs, and there's kind of some hype about it. We actually didn't end up selling them just because the gas prices, if you're aware of NFTs, were just ridiculous. We've had some offers on them, but personally, I think I'd rather just keep them under our white whale marketing marketplace on OpenSea, because then it's something that I'd like to keep rather than just ship it off at a loss, or even just ship it off for a couple bucks, where I think it's much more worthwhile holding it ourselves. So then with that, around that time too, as I said, we're bringing on team members, which was pretty cool because, as I said, episode 0 is finishing school, then, working with Athletico, a startup, and then Athletico, and then leaving to start my own startup. It's pretty cool to kind of see it gradually grow. And I was recording a podcast yesterday for episode 82, which is going to come out in 2 weeks, with someone from Adidas. Very good episode, unreal. Episode 81 too is very good. It's with someone from F1. And on that episode 82, just a little spoiler, the advice he gave was young people sometimes just need to take a little more time to realize the accomplishments they have, because it goes so fast and you don't realize it. And that's why I'm trying to take the time with these podcasts and even just kind of refer to it, because, I like I said, I thought this company would go faster. It hasn't, but I think it is kind of growing, and that's how businesses are, right? Where it's not going to be an overnight success, or not everything is an overnight success, and you have to build it. And same way with these athletes brands, right? Where, hey, we're not going to become Ronaldo or Messi, overnight or ever. But as long as we're continuously growing, improving, and even just continuing to provide value, I think that's what the key is, right? So We had two kind of students join us in the summer. AJ and her all unreal guys. We're all graduated. He's actually now working with the Canucks and still helping us out. AJ is a marketing student at SFX, a university in Canada. Also still helping us out. They're kind of helping us out in regards to sports marketing efforts. And then we had some other students or graduates, which were nice and cool people, but didn't necessarily fit or didn't have the time. So by all means, that makes sense. And then we actually had a new student, Caleb. Shout out Caleb if he's listening. He joined us, I believe, a week or two ago in regards to outreach and sales. As you know, sports have opened up again here in Canada. We're seeing a lot more traction in regards to sponsorships and sales. So he's essentially kind of working out strictly on outreach and setting up these different meetings for me to go on to kind of negotiate these contracts. So that's pretty exciting in regards to our team. With that, so since this episode is basically what's happened since episode 60. If you want more detail, just listen to those episodes, and maybe you can kind of refer to it or connect to something as I said for my route. So since episode 60, if you listen to it, then you're like, okay, well, you guys basically already had 4 athletes then. You still have 4 athletes now. You haven't announced any clients in regards to, sports business and where we help in regards to marketing retainers. And to be honest, that's something that frustrates me too sometimes. But it's not always go or going forwards. I think I took the last few months to kind of just step back and almost just realize, hey, we got to improve these processes, or hey, that's not working, and we got to do this a little differently. So basically the last 6, 7, or maybe more, maybe 9 weeks, I kind of revamped all of our back end stuff, and just kind of, you can see behind here on the videos, I think it's a little blurred, which is good. But I've been working on, different whiteboards, even just updating our files and trying to see different softwares to, hey, how can we improve it? Because what we were doing wasn't working. And obviously it had some interest, but wasn't as good when we were looking at sponsorships. But how can we help athletes? Because there was traction, obviously, with COVID. I know businesses didn't have money, but how can we do it where it's seamless, where we're almost shortening the funnel for sponsorships? And if you're, marketing, sales, whatever, you want to have as least amount of levels in the funnel as possible, so you can kind of convert that sale, client, etc. And we were seeing success but it was kind of harder to kind of close because of the COVID budgets. So I kind of updated, see, hey, how can we do something where it's almost more meaningful, where we actually kind of go to these sponsorships? Similar when, shout out to Jobs in Sports. When I reached out to them, it seemed like it was a no-brainer where, hey, yeah, let's do it. So I think that's a huge value where now with COVID, like, we're starting to see sometimes even businesses reaching out to us, which is nice. But we were just kind of improving our processes, because I don't want to just grow this too quickly or grow these different brands for these athletes too quickly. We don't have things in place, right? So the cool thing about that as well, where maybe to depend someone else, you're like, I don't know, man, you guys haven't grown enough. I think we're doing well, because when we look at our athletes, their social value, so how much we can charge for posts on social media, have all grown from these different maybe tips or tricks that we've provided. And then with that, when we kind of go on calls now, rather than people are like, I'm not sure, we can tell them what these data we've been collecting, things we've been doing with them, and actually knowing, hey, this is what Nico's brand, or hey, this is what Ben's brand is, or so on and so forth. Then it's a much easier sell, right? Where people are like, okay, yeah, our views are directly aligned. Your numbers. Let's see if we can work out if we have the budget to do so. So that's been pretty cool, and I'm pretty excited about that. In regards to what we've done more recently is, I just want to pump another podcast we have. So that's the White Whale Marketing Podcast. Sorry, we're on the wrong thing here. Just kind of going on the website. So you can go to our content, our podcast. So as you can see here, the route presented by Jobs in Sports. Shout out to them. And we also have the White Whale Marketing Pod. And that's in collaboration, as you see here, with the Sport Marketeer. So that's kind of the big thing that we're kind of doing recently, where it's another way, I think, to attach our name as the company to sports marketing, and also get our name in the discussions in these sport marketing circles and talking about these important topics, or hopefully then even can be I don't know, a lead generator for maybe potential clients or even people in our network, even potential sponsors for our athletes. So that's the big thing that we're kind of trying to do here, all while providing value to people in sports marketing. So essentially, the White Whale Marketing Podcast is myself and people from the team, and we talk about 3 different topics each week that are taking place in sports marketing. And these topics are all written in the Sport Marketeer newsletter. So you can find that here. So the sportmarketeer.substack.com. And it's a newsletter we created where everything we talk about on the White Whale Marketing Podcast, we write it in written form, and you subscribe, it gets sent directly to your inbox. So it's pretty cool. It's a great way, I think, to kind of get our name out there and kind of just do different things like that as well. And, the format's clean. It provides you crisp information, and it's not overly complicated is the word I'll use. I hate it when there's too many words or people are trying to sound fancy. This is short and sweet. This is to the point. You want to hear sports marketing news, you follow the Sport Marketeer. And the value that this provides as well is what I was talking about earlier with athletes. Look, we do podcasts, we do streaming, we do merch, X, Y, Z. We also do newsletters now. So maybe, some of our athletes, if they want to embark in a career post-sport, because that's the focus, we want to help them, build that path afterwards. This is a great way to do it as well, where they can start talking about or showcasing the knowledge they have beyond sport, and hopefully they can build a following from that as well. So check that out. We're also going to be creating a group called the Sport Marketeers, which is essentially people who are in sports marketing, young professionals, students, even executives, managers, whatever. And what I'd like to do is once a month, have all these sports marketers come together, sport marketeers, I should say, come together, have a discussion, talk about maybe different topics that we've talked about, or maybe issues people are having and how other people may have solved it, and almost kind of create this community where, people are, building off one another, right? Because I think there's value in that for sure. Yeah, so that will be the Sport Marketeer. You'll hear it on the route. I'll showcase it. Hey guys, sign up, or you can find it on social media too. Just follow us at White Whale Marketing here on Instagram, and that's where we post most of our stuff. What else? We also have some interesting retainers. Hopefully finalize those soon as the fall and football, hockey starting up again, or American football, CFL has been going on. And then also with soccer and Canadian football winding down, we have opportunities to maybe execute on, hey, how can we help these businesses or even athletes get taken to the next level? Because obviously athletes are a little busy to kind of be focusing on sponsorships or growing their brand in season. So that's kind of cool. And that's what we've basically been doing since episode 60. I'm pretty excited. I think our foundation is pretty good now. I'm happy with our foundation. I think our processes are good. We're seeing great traction when we're reaching out to the sponsors for athletes now, where they're very interested. And I was kind of just finding the right ones, right? Where, as I had in a meeting yesterday, it's much more than just a cash exchange, right? And companies just don't want people to be like, hey, yeah, they almost want voices now, right? Where if something goes wrong in the world or there's a topic at hand, they want you to almost be like a face of their brand or a voice for the brand, where they feel comfortable, where their views are aligned with you, where that's essentially what they're paying for, right? It's not simply for, hey, look, buy this hat, which you should, whitewhalemarketing.shop. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited with the space we have going. Externally, may not look like, hey, they haven't done too much since episode 60, but internally, I'm pretty happy. And I'm very excited for this 1-year anniversary of White Whale Marketing, because I think we're going to hit the ground running with, I guess, my 24th birthday, so my 24s, and then also just 2022. I think it's going to be our year for sure. And I guess what's next, right? So I was kind of touching on athletes. I didn't really want to grow the athlete pool base until we can get each of these initial athletes to the next level, and I think we're starting to get there. So we haven't done any outreach to those, but we have some athletes in mind that we'd like to work with. We think they'd be a great addition to the team, because we just want key people, nice people, and genuine as well. So we have some in mind, and hopefully, I don't know. hopefully, I guess let's just say hopefully by episode 100, when that comes out, probably I guess in December, we will have some exciting news in regards to two athletes that we're close to working with. So I'm pretty excited for that. I think it's going to provide some amazing opportunities to potential brands we're working with. It's going to provide opportunities to the athletes even we're working with, because it just can bring on more eyes to our team here, whether it's our business team or even our athlete team. I think it's going to be pretty exciting. But yeah, that's kind of what we've been working on. Something I'll say too, because I'm always pushing the merch, whitewellmarketing.shop. I think we do some cool stuff. I think it's pretty innovative. We have, White Whale Marketing Stream Tee. So, we have a guy that's streaming FIFA. We're going to be streaming more. And also we've been live streaming podcasts and discussions. So cool things where we're just trying to execute on. In the White Whale Marketing podcast, we're talking about, the Messi shirt where it said, is he say Paris, right? So we're doing ICC say White Whale Marketing. So pretty cool stuff, or little Wayne's World throw off, or Jurassic Park, and just some merch for the fall too, kind of just revamping it and getting the brand out there. So pretty cool stuff. If you ever reach out to me. You have my name here if you're watching a video, Chris Nascimento, or in the bio of these audio podcasts as well. You should be able to find it. So reach out to me, LinkedIn or Twitter at Nascimento Marketing, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If not, I know 103-year-old Chris will, and that's all that matters at the end of the day, right? So talk to you guys soon. Episode 81 will be coming out on regular schedule on Tuesday, and that will be, who is it? It'll be Guillaume from the Alpine F1 racing team. So he's based in London, but he's from France. It's a cool episode, so you should check it out. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. But that's it for the podcast today. Thank you.